In this video, I will show you how to make a simple countdown timer in Unity. I will use a project from my previous videos and add a countdown before spawning the enemies, but you will see it can be easily used anywhere you need it. First, you will need to create a script called TimeManager. As you can see, I have already created and written the script, so we have the full picture while I explain what every part of a script does. I will leave the full script file in the description. We will need several variables. The first is the instance of the class, which I will explain in a bit. Then we have a public property to inform if the timer has finished, where the set is private, so it cannot be changed from outside this class. Then we have the reference to the text of our timer, and finally a float of the time in seconds, which will be 0 by default. In order for our timer to be easily accessible from anywhere we might need it, we will use the Singleton pattern, which is basically a globally accessible class that exists in the scene but only once. The idea is that any other script can access the Singleton, allowing you to easily connect important parts of the game, such as the player, the UI, or other game systems. So basically how a Singleton works is we expose an instance of the class as a public property, where the set is private so it cannot be changed from outside. Then in the awake method, if the instance already exists and it is different than this, which is the current class, we destroy it and return, so we maintain the current existing instance. If the instance does not exist, then we create it by setting our instance property value to the current class. This is just a brief Singleton explanation. I will leave a link in the description with more information about Singletons in Unity. Now in the update method, if our time in seconds is greater than 0 and if our timer is not finished, then we will subtract the time.delta time from the time in seconds, and next we divide the time in seconds by 60 using the modulus operator and cast it to an integer in order to get the remaining seconds, and then store it in a variable called seconds. Then after that, we will update our text to the remaining seconds by calling the setTimerText method, which basically just sets our timer object to be active and sets the text of the object to our remaining seconds. In the else statement, we set our code for when the timer has finished. So first we set the time in seconds to remain 0, then set our isTimerFinish to true, and finally we deactivate the TimerText game object. Then we have a public method to start the countdown timer whenever we want. It receives by parameter the time from which the countdown will start, which will be assigned to the time in seconds variable. And we also set the isTimerFinish to false, so that in our update method the if condition evaluates as true and the timer starts. Let's see how to use this countdown by modifying the spawner by invoke script from my previous videos. It is very simple to use. You just do TimeManager.instance.startCountdownTimer and pass the time in seconds as parameter. In this case, I will use the already existing delay value and will also start the countdown in the start method. Then I will move the invoke repeating method inside the update method and wrap it with an if condition to check if the timer has finished. So we again do TimeManager.instance.isTimerFinished to only spawn the enemies when the timer has finished. I will also set the delay to 0 as I will be using the timer and not the original delay. As I'm doing all of this in the update method, once the timer finishes, the invoke repeating will be called each frame, but I only want to call it once. So to do that, we create a new variable and use it as a flag. Back to Unity, create a new UI text for the timer and customize it as you wish, and also deactivate it by default. Then create a new game object called TimeManager and add the TimeManager script as a component, and then drag the timer text to the timer text field. Once we hit play, as you can see, the timer starts and the enemies spawn after the timer has finished. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like and subscribe.